This is the set where we shoot our Wednesday weekly videos for our Patreon subscribers. And if you want to get on board and get extra Paul Harrell program content because you want to partner with us, you believe the show has value, you want to help us keep the show on the air, you want to help us grow the show, you want to help us make videos like this one even better, then you need to seriously think about subscribing to Patreon. It's patreon.com/thephp. That's patreon.com/thephp. Get extra content today, partner with us, and help build the Liberty Machine. We're asking you to partner with us for as little as $5 a month. Now, you can go up from there. You can go to $10 a month and get extra features, or $25 a month and become a Conduit Media Insider. But for $5 a month, you can really help us out. You can get extra content. You can see what we talk about on sets like this, and I promise you, you won't be disappointed. Thanks for watching. Back in a moment.
Paul Harrell, weekdays from 4 to 6. Learn more at paulharrell.com.
Welcome back to the program. Big picture conservative segment. We have with us once again Senator Scott Flippo. Scott, welcome back, sir.
Paul, thank you. Happy to join y'all this evening.
Yeah, absolutely. So first of all, you getting excited for the holidays? I mean, it's like my favorite time of year. I love Christmas time.
So, love Christmas, love the holidays, and I'll be honest with you and your listeners. I mean, if you come to my house right now, it looks like the middle of August. You wouldn't know that there's any kind of holiday approaching. But my office is decorated to the tilt. Of course, the Capitol is decorated. But you know, I love the holidays. But unfortunately, my house is not necessarily reflective of that. Although I'm determined to get a tree up here in the next week.
Okay.
And I have my mother and aunts coming up this weekend, so I have it on good authority. By the time they leave on Sunday, I'll be to the 9.
Okay, nice. That's always helpful. I've actually got, let's see, I've done Christmas. I had the Christmas lights up maybe a week before Thanksgiving, but I've got some more to put out in the backyard this weekend, so I'm stoked about it.
When you say Christmas lights, Paul, are you like Clark Griswold Christmas lights,
well,
or are you just putting a few lights in the bush?
Actually, this year it was more of the Clark Griswolds. I've got these really tall, like pine ferns that I actually really, really like, but they're really tall. They're probably like 15 feet higher than the tallest point of my roof, you know, or 10 feet. And so I had this big pole contraption where I was hanging, trying to hang them and on a ladder, and I about killed myself a few times. And then I realized, Scott, these new lights that you get, right, the ones that are not LEDs, which I don't like, these new lights that you can only hook up 3 strands at a time. If you hook up more than 3 strands, then the fuse in your first set will blow. And I learned that lesson the hard way after several. I was like, what is going on? And so now you got to have more extension cords. You got to have more splitters in order to light your house up. And I'm thinking this has got to be some sort of government regulation where they're trying to just discourage me from putting out lights, because I almost gave up,
Hey, listen, absolutely. I mean, did Obama pass anything that had anything to do with, with Christmas lights and the apparatus that goes into them? Because I can't think of any other rational reason of why it would be so complicated other than government interference. Or, Paul, and I'm not accusing you of anything, maybe the user just didn't have it figured out.
Okay. Well, it very easily could be the user. There's no question. But I did confirm it. It's on the box now that says don't hook up more than 3 strands at a time. So.
Well, that's no fun.
I know, and I'm telling you, it has to be some sort. They were used to. You could hook up like 10 of them, before you had any problems. So,
yeah, Paul, my dad, now he would put lights, but he would be into the bushes and the landscaping out front, and this was like the 30-minute of hanging the lights or just twisting them around the bushes and trees in the front yard. But we never went to the point of getting on the roof or anything like that. And probably a good idea. I'd be hard pressed to see my father walking around on the roof and hanging Christmas lights.
Yeah.
He'd make Clark Griswold look like MacGyver. So, probably a good reason that he didn't. But as we speak about Christmas, Paul, I was driving past our courthouse here in Baxter County last night. One of the things that makes me sad is a nativity scene that was there for eons, for as long as I can remember. And it hadn't been there for the past couple of years.
Would it be crazy if you just stopped everything?
What's that?
packed your bags and left. For a week, a month, a year. What if you left for 2 years? Would people think you'd lost your mind? What if you were going far away to help in a village on the edge of the Gobi Desert? A village crowded with Buddhist temples, not skyscrapers. A place where there isn't a word for recluse, but 1,000 words for community. Would it be crazy to go 5,000 miles from home? To spend time with people the rest of the world only reads about? To build libraries and fill them with stories? Prepare a meal with food you helped grow? To teach children and learn a thing or two about yourself? Would that be crazy? Peace Corps. Life is calling. How far will you go? To find out more, call 1-800-424-8580 or visit peacecorps.com.
Is the birth of our Lord and Savior, and
The maintenance of a free society is a very difficult and complicated thing, and it requires a self-denying ordinance of the most extreme kind. It requires a willingness to put up with temporary evils on the basis of the subtle and sophisticated understanding that if you step in to do something about them, you not only may make them worse, but you will spread your tentacles and get bad results elsewhere.
I think it's time we ask ourselves if we still know the freedoms that were intended for us by the Founding Fathers. We lose freedom here, there's no place to escape to. This is the last stand on earth. Whether we believe in our capacity for self-government or whether we abandon the American Revolution and confess that a little intellectual elite in a far distant capital can plan our lives for us better than we can plan them ourselves.
You're listening to the Paul Harrell Program, brought to you by Conduit Media Group.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Paul Harrell Program. This is Dale Hoffman sitting in for Paul Harrell. Well, he's out on vacation this week. We're coming to you live from the XL7 television studios in Mountain Home, Arkansas, where we have a chilling 34 degrees outside with a north wind, but it's 30 degrees warmer than what it was 2 days ago. We're going to be joined by State Representative Nelda Speaks for the next 2 hours. We're going to be talking, we've got newspapers here and clippings and notes. We've got a lot of things to talk about. And big news in the world of Conduit News Radio. Conduit Media Group's flagship conservative talk show, The Paul Harrell Show, will be changing its name and expanding to the Little Rock market on Monday, January 8th. Conduit News Radio with Paul Harrell will begin airing in Central Arkansas on 96.5 FM. The Answer on Monday, January 8th from 6 to 8 a.m. A prime time, drive time, top-of-the-line talk radio show with Paul Harrell, who I consider to be the best in the state when it comes to conservative talk radio, brought to you by Conduit News Radio. Also, let's see what this other PSA has to say. They'll be switching of the Paul Harrell Show will also be on stations in Jonesboro, Fort Smith, Rogers, Russellville, and Stuttgart. So be sure to tune in for the Paul Harrell program. It will be aired from 6 to 8 a.m. starting on Monday. In the studio today, here at the XL7 television studios, Nelda Speaks, our state representative, and it's so good to see you. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you, and thank you, Dale. It's always a pleasure to be with you.
Yeah, it's an honor to be sitting in Paul Harrell's chair, whether you're in Jonesboro or Mountain Home or wherever it may be, because he's the best.
He is the best. That is no joke. And
I was with David Crow in the Faulkner County Tea Party a couple of years ago, and they invited me to speak. And they said, well, Paul Harrell will introduce you. And I said, no, wait a minute. So on stage, I said, I think we got this backwards. Let me introduce Paul Harrell and get him up here to talk.
He's great. I like him.
So you've got a whole stack of papers here, and we've got 2 hours.
Okay.
So what's part one? I see you've got a whole bunch of things, new laws that went into effect. We've got stuff on health care, on taxes. We've got a lot to talk about.
Okay. And we're long-winded, so we can
do
that.
And if not, we got Benny Speaks over here. He can help us out.
Well, we had several new laws that did go into effect, and some of them are really great. Act 392, which creates the Born Alive Infant Protection, and that prevents the physicians or any other healthcare professional to deprive someone, a baby that's born alive after, they tried to abort it, and now they've got to keep it alive. They've got to give it food, medical attention, whatever. It's to be treated exactly like a child that would be born premature.
Wow. And this took effect January 1?
This took effect January the 1st. If they don't do that, they can lose their license.
Wow.
And I'm for that.
There you go.
I think babies have not been measured up to what they should have without, for a child to be born and it's still moving and doing, it makes me sick to think that they would just put it over to the side and just let it die.
I just, I don't even know that I have the proper thought to describe the horror.
No.
I know 10 years ago I was in Indianapolis, Indiana, and helping a young lady who had gone through 2 abortions, and she actually wrote a song about this and had a testimony. And it was, she was 15 when this had happened, and she was 45, 46 years old at the time. I said, "How do you ever think about this?" She's every day.
Yes.
It's not a memory. It's a haunting experience.
Right.
And it happened to her twice. And even her family would say, it's only a group of cells. No, there's a heartbeat.
That is true.
There's a heartbeat. And in some aspects, you can go with the animal protection agencies. There's several of them across the country. And if you were to harm, somebody was arrested because they drugged their cat behind the car, and somebody killed some puppies, and all. They're going to jail. But yet we can abort a child, and it's still alive. We're just going to let it die.
Yes.
Come on, folks.
No, and I don't understand. I think that it has to haunt them at times. And I had been told that women that are young girls that do abort a baby, that later on they do really suffer from that. And that's a shame. I don't think they are told enough to think about some of this. They're young, and they don't realize the torment that they're going to go through.
There's a flip side to this, too, the responsibility of the father.
That's right.
I mean, they take no responsibility. In some aspects, when there's a pregnancy out of wedlock, the fathers disappear. And I don't understand why anybody would knowingly have a child and not want to be a part, number one, of that child's life, but let alone financially support that child.
Right. I do not understand. They seem to walk away and don't look back.
I don't understand that. So explain one time. Act 392. Let's go over this one more time. It's really good.
This was it creates the Born Alive Infant Protection to prevent a physician or other healthcare professionals or other persons from denying or depriving an infant of nourishment or medical appropriate, reasonable medical care treatment.
So basically, if the abortion lives, they have to keep it alive.
They have to keep it alive. Or they can lose their license.
Now, what reporting agency will be in there during either the abortion or what becomes a birth to report this? Well, you let it die, and we're going to report this. And who does the reporting?
I don't know. You just hope that
somebody in there will.
Right. That will report it. And it seems like, Dale, you do not keep secrets anymore. And somebody's going to talk.
I hope. Wow. What else you have for us today?
Okay. We have, this is also our, we've got several things there, but the one that we're all very proud of is where the military, their retirement benefits have been exempt as of January the 1st, and that's Act 141. this has to do with this military retirement and survivor benefits, and they'll be exempt from their income tax, Arkansas income tax. And so I think that is wonderful that has happened. Dale have found out there is around 6 million veterans we have here in Baxter County. And
6,000?
6,000. Did I say million? Sometimes
Biddy was thinking.
And I think it's like 35,000 economic that we get off of that.
Yes.
Or just here in Baxter County. And I forget what it is over the state.
It's a large number.
I have it here. It's okay. The economic impact for just Baxter County alone is 37 million, and for the state, it is $1 billion. So it's one of the things they deserve it. But we are going to get some economic values out of this. Also, the one thing that these people are very young that's retiring now, and they will either start a business, go to work, whatever they do.
And that they pay taxes on.
That's right.
They're just not on the military retirement.
It's true.
So if somebody went in the military at age 18, gets out at 38, by age 40 they're starting a business, they could be 25 years paying taxes without paying taxes on that income.
Yes, and so we're going to be the winners out of this, but I am so thankful for them.
And that military experience and training.
That's true. It means a lot. And so that one I'm so proud of, that we finally got here today, and now
we're talking. It's in the books.
Yes, because 2 years ago we tried to do that,
and it failed.
And it failed. Yes.
So we're visiting with Nelda Speak, State Representative. You're listening to the Paul Harrell program with Dale Hoffman sitting in for Paul this week while he's on vacation. We're at the XL7 television studios in Mountain Home, Arkansas. It's time for a quick break, and I'll be right back with Representative Speaks right after the break.
If you're like me, you believe that small business is the heart of Arkansas's economic engine, and it should be viewed that way by the politicians in Little Rock. Conduit for Commerce also believes, like you and I believe, policies that achieve less regulation and lower taxation help small business in Arkansas thrive. Other policies like small, constitutionally consistent government and reducing citizen dependency on government keeps it from growing and expanding its influence on our daily lives. Conduit for Commerce works every day to educate the general public and legislators on these important priorities in the name of Arkansas small business. By the way, contributions to Conduit for Commerce are tax deductible. Log on now to conduitforcommerce.org and click on Contact Us on the right side of the page. That's conduitforcommerce.org. Go there now and learn the facts on protecting small business in Arkansas. Do you need to advertise your business product or service, but not sure what the best choice is? Folks, allow me to introduce you to Talk Radio. You're listening to it right now. Talk radio is one of the most unique mediums in all of advertising because it actually works. It gets the information you want to the people you want to get it to. And by the way, those people are educated, well-informed decision makers of their household, and most of them have disposable income. If this is a target audience for your business, then you have to consider advertising on my show, The Paul Harrell Program. We have options for most any budget and can provide you with exciting opportunities to grow your business. We can put your message across the state, or we can help you locally. Call 870-275-9755 if you have any questions. That's 870-275-9755, or visit my website, paulharrell.com, and click on Advertise.
In Arkansas, every single hour there is a politician not getting what they want. For some, it's an absolute nightmare. The sleepless nights wondering if progress will ever come. Lying awake pondering how to grow government in this political climate. Asking questions like, why don't my constituents want to pay a few cents more in taxes? Everyday politicians feel abused and neglected. These politicians are starving for power. They're hungry, confused, and they don't understand why no one seems to care. Will you be a patriot and commit today to help these poor, starved for power public officials? It's simple. All you have to do is commit to stay silent and never dissent or stand in the way of your politicians' rise to power. Never speak up or get engaged to stop the growth of government. By committing to these simple steps, you will ensure the life of your politician will be filled with contentment and the respect they are desperately seeking, as well as campaign contributions from lobbyists.
This message brought to you by Aristocrats Serving Arkansas.
PHP Parody. Want to go back and listen to previous shows? Apple users can subscribe to our podcast on iTunes. Don't have an Apple device? Head on over to paulharrell.com and click on Podcast. It's free and available 24/7 because the Liberty Machine never sleeps.
And we're back with the Paul Harrell program. Dale Hoffman sitting in for Paul Harrell this week while he's on vacation. Coming to you from the XL7 television studios in Mountain Home, Arkansas. I'm here with Nelda Speak, State Representative. And just as we went to break, we got to talk about the seatbelt law.
Do we touch it?
Okay. Yeah, I'm getting ready to irritate a lot of people. I do not like a mandatory seatbelt law. Here's what happened. Years ago, when we were on Mountain Talk Radio and Mountain Home, I had one of the policemen in Mountain Home call and says, "Ticket and click, it's back on." Well, what do you mean? Well, the funding came back in for the seatbelt law. Oh, tell me about that. Well, it's a grant program from the federal government that gives money to the police departments who need it very badly. But the thing is, you have to write seatbelt tickets, and it has to be a direct pullover for a seatbelt violation. One Sunday afternoon after church, it's a warm, sunny Sunday afternoon, and that's my day to turn on Cardinal baseball, wax the vehicles, maybe do a little yard trimming, just putter around the house. And my son called, and we had to swap vehicles between me and him and his mother. And so I wound up getting in his little Honda Civic and driving it back to my house. And I never got on the highway. I'm in a residential neighborhood, and I go 0.6 of a mile. On the way back, I'm going into my neighborhood, and an Arkansas State policeman is going back to work after being off for lunch, the dinner hour. I pull back in my driveway, and I look, and here's an Arkansas State policeman with every flashing blue light in my driveway. Hi. He says, "Sir, you didn't have your seatbelt on." What? So here's the kicker. I'm in work jeans that have more holes in them than Swiss cheese. My toolboxes are out here. I said, okay, phase one. Look, clunk, clunk, it's stuck. This is my son's car. We just swapped in the last 7 minutes. I've just driven 1.2 miles to his house and back. "Sir, do you have your driver's license with you?" "No, they're in the pants that I wore to church. I don't normally wear jeans like this to church." So he said, "Well, you're supposed to have that on there. What's your date of birth?" Gave him the whole scenario. Came back and gave me a warning ticket for faulty equipment on a car I don't even own. So here's the whole neighborhood looking at my house with a state cop and every blue light over a seatbelt. Over a seatbelt?
Well, before you lose it, this is on school buses.
Yeah. And my question was, if it's mandatory for me, and here's what I was told. Well, that poor bus driver would never get all those kids out. But no, Senator Missy Irvin had a very good point. And I have tracked this. In the last 2 years, there's been about 8 or 9 school bus fires. And you could never get the kids out.
I thought about that when
and
this
I've tracked
thing
it in
come
Colorado.
up.
I think there's one in Iowa. There has been a lot. And these school buses are safe. And they are very well manufactured. But I have counted in the last 2 years about 8 school bus fires. And Senator Irvin says, Dale, what if? I said, well, let me track. And sure enough, you get online and you can track school bus fires. I bet you can find at least 2 happened last year.
My. Well, this thing is Act 375, and it says it requires that school bus that is purchased new or leased after January the 1st be equipped with seat belts. But there's a kicker. If they get a petition signed by 10% of the school district's qualified electors that's in that district, and then it will be put on an annual, when the school selection comes up, which now it will be in the May and November, one of them, whichever one that they choose to do their elections.
That's a school elector?
It's they have to be 10% of that school district qualified electors.
Wow.
So you've got to be a voter that lives in that school district.
Oh, I see.
And then
to sign a petition to not put the seatbelts in?
To put it in.
Oh, to put it in.
Yes. They'll not automatically do that. But I was talking, because I agree with you. I've thought about the fires and that. And it's not only going to be a cost just to put the seatbelts in, but you're going to have someone on there to help these small children get the seatbelts on and off.
Right.
And what if there was an accident that you were trying to get a child out early, and maybe you've got to, you could have 30. You could have 30 children on there.
I know.
But I asked the superintendent here in Mountain Home, and he said that's never been on my radar. And but he said it would cost a millage in order to do all of that.
Yeah.
And then, of course, they would have to have the extra help.
Sure, they would.
To help these children.
Yeah, I've got dual airbags on my Chrysler, and I have to have my seatbelt on, or I get a $92 ticket.
Mm-hmm.
Now, here's something else a lot of people don't know. We're in Mountain Home, Arkansas, and some folks across the state. We're in the north central part of the state, just in between Norfolk and Bull Shoals Lake, where it's very pretty. We have the White River, we have the Buffalo River, we got Bryant River up in Missouri. We're 15 miles off the Missouri state line. Mountain Home school buses go to the Missouri state line on 3 different highways: Highway 101, 201, and Highway 5 North. With the exception of Highway 5 North, they go into Missouri, turn left on US 160, go west about 3 or 4 miles, go south into northeast Marion County, Arkansas, back into Missouri, back into Arkansas and Baxter County, and some of those kids get on the bus at 6:15 and get home at 5:15 because of the way Ozark Isle is positioned. So we actually have Marion County kids going to Mountain Home Public Schools. We go to Henderson, Arkansas, across Lake Norfolk, which is about another 8 or 9 miles near the Fulton County line. All in all, by the time the school buses bring the kids into school and take them home, you're looking at over 2,300 miles a day for one district.
That's a lot.
And you get up north of Mountain Home near the state line, and those roads are not straight.
No. But, the hills prevent our drivers from driving very fast.
True. They'll probably, what do you think they average, 30 miles an hour maybe, perhaps?
If it's even that.
If it's, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because you're picking up children, and a lot of them are just on dirt roads and just out in the woods, really.
I'm going to stop you real quick. I've overlooked the clock here. We got to go to break. Be right back.
Okay.
welcome those of you watching at paulharrell.com, Facebook Live, or our YouTube page, The Paul Harrell Program. This is the set where we shoot our Wednesday weekly videos for our Patreon subscribers. And if you want to get on board and get extra Paul Harrell Program content because you want to partner with us, you believe the show has value, you want to help us keep the show on the air, you want to help us grow the show, you want to help us make videos like this one even better, then you need to seriously think about subscribing to Patreon. It's patreon.com/thephp. That's patreon.com/thephp. Get extra content today, partner with us, and help build the Liberty Machine. We're asking you to partner with us for as little as $5 a month. Now, you can go up from there. You can go to $10 a month and get extra features, or $25 a month and become a Conduit Media Insider. But for $5 a month, you can really help us out. You can get extra content. You can see what we talk about on sets like this, and I promise you, you won't be disappointed. Thanks for watching. Back in a moment.
Paul Harrell, weekdays from 4 to 6. Learn more at paulharrell.com.
There's a sad time in America when you can't have a nativity scene on the courthouse square in your hometown.
Yeah.
And,
really
you know, that's just, to me, it's just one of those things that always stings with me. But the bright news is, Paul, it really allows, you know, us as citizens to get together and to do goodwill in our community. Mm-hmm. And not just buying presents for, you know, for our friends and family, but looking out for people in our community.
Absolutely.
I mean, you know, as a conservative, I firmly believe charity begins with the citizens and not with the government. And I think Christmas is a great time to remind people of that.
Yeah, let's talk about that, because our Wednesday weekly video that Joe and I did this time, Joe, our board operator here, we did it on social justice from the leftist standpoint, and then Christmas charity from, you know, just a biblical ethics standpoint. So it's a good video. I'd encourage people to you know, subscribe and become a member. But specifically, it was on this idea that a lot of people on the left seem to think that government programs that are supposed to help people qualify as charity. And I made the point that not really, because charity is not forced. It's voluntary, where, you know, the person sees you actually giving them something. They see the sacrifice, or they see the love, or the goodwill. And you know, a lot of times those government programs, a lot of times they're not effective because it's not a charitable act in terms of an individual doing something.
You're absolutely correct. I mean, this is government in a distant land, far removed from you, with money that you have no idea where I mean, you know, you don't know where it's coming from. It's just, to me, government, its role is not charity. That is the role of society and individuals and the church. Government has no function, and this is my opinion, but the government has no function when it comes to charity. That is our responsibility for each other. And, you know, a big part of the reason of why I'm a conservative is that you know, too much government desensitizes us to the needs of the people around us.
Yeah.
And I have found myself kind of falling into this trap of, well, oh my gosh, I pay all these taxes, and why do I got to, you know, there's a program for this, there's a government program for that. And it's easy for me to kind of rationalize why I don't need to personally get involved. And, you know, I have to kind of call myself out on that from time to time, because the reason I need to get involved is because it's my responsibility.
Paul Harrell, your voice for limited government and small business in Arkansas.
Show. Dale Hoffman sitting in for Paul Harrell across the state of Arkansas, and we're broadcasting from the XL7 television studios in Mountain Home, Arkansas. And we're visiting with State Representative Nelda Speaks, and we had a few chuckles over the seatbelts. But this is, in my opinion, now I'm going to express my opinion, may not be the opinion of the Conduit News Radio folks, but I'm going to express it anyway. This is governmental overreach. Are you going to tell me what color vehicle I have to buy? Are you going to tell me what radio station I have to listen to or what CD is in the player? Or if somebody's daughter has to sit in this chair or that chair, are you going to regulate? I own that vehicle, and I should have the right to choose if I want my seatbelt on or not. When I was growing up, I grew up in St. Clair County, Illinois. We had a 57 Plymouth. I'd stand up in the front seat. It didn't have seatbelts.
We rode in the back of a truck.
You rode in the back of a pickup truck, yeah.
Lived out in the country.
Yeah, I don't think we can do that anymore, can we?
I don't know. I'd be afraid to try it.
I was in Poplar Bluff, Missouri at my grandparents' house one time, and my dad's uncle was there. And somebody said, well, we need to run down to Neelyville and pick up something. Zale, you want to ride with Oliver? I said, yeah. Well, my grandfather rode, my brothers rode, so we'll just get in the back of the truck. So we get in the back of that. It was about a 71 GMC truck. And, man, the wind was whipping around. I looked down. He's doing 75 miles an hour. We're in the back of that truck going down Highway 67.
Well, when I've done parades, I rode in the back of Benny's truck and threw out candy, and he ties me in. So if he throws on them brakes, I'm not gone.
Oh, what other laws go into effect?
I think that you've got a wife that teaches school on Act 666 creates an income tax deduction for teachers who spend money on classroom supplies up to $250.
That helps.
Mm-hmm. I wish we could have gone more, but it's a start because I know there's
I kid you not, I know teachers in, I'm not going to say what town, north central Arkansas, that have spent $7,000 a year.
It's unreal, those teachers, what they put out to help and to keep paper, pencil, books, all kinds of things for their students. And they love those kids, and so this will help some. It's not going to help a lot, but it's
Any
a
chance
start.
of that going up to 500 in the next couple of years? Can we twist somebody's arm?
We'll have to see.
Because it really helps. The $250 will make it. And that is a tax credit?
It's a tax credit.
So a tax credit is different from an exemption or deduction. A tax credit comes off of the tax bill itself.
Well, creates an income tax deduction.
Oh, deduction.
Deduction. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So, but whatever, it is going to help. We've also got something else on schools. You know, I just kind of touched on it a little bit. Act 910 sets a date for the annual school elections to be the date of a preferential primary election or the general election.
So they can pick and choose the...
Yes, it'll be up to the schools to do that.
So it'd either be May 22nd or November... I don't have a...
It's right about the first Tuesday in November, isn't it? Or is that the second Tuesday?
Let's see, November...
We just got a November behind us, so I haven't looked.
It looks like November 6th of 18.
Okay. Is that the second Tuesday?
Oh, second Tuesday would be the 13th.
Well, is it the second or the first?
I don't know. I don't remember.
I don't either.
Let me look back at 17. Or let's go back to 16 when we had the presidential, and I could probably tell you. Okay, November of 16 was the second Tuesday. It was the 8th.
It's the
second.
Okay.
Second Tuesday, yeah. So
that's one of the things that
and the reason
passed.
for this is beforehand, we're going to have an election on the 10th of April or the 20th of May or the 3rd of September. People don't go out.
No. And they tried this time to get even the primary back up for Arkansas. But I have a problem. I just don't like it. I mean, we go to the polls and vote in May.
Right.
And always have. And I guess I'm a stick in the mud.
I agree with you, though. I think the May primary is better than the March. But it had something to do with the delegates or something for the presidential part in the Electoral College, I think, this last time.
It did. And plus, we don't get the people here advertising. I forget how much advertisement we got in the state. and I don't know if I heard the whole total, but they have to file to run on the ballot, and then if they're already off, because of all the elections that's already took place.
Yeah.
Then, but this gave us a kind of a fighting chance.
Yeah, there's another issue with people that get in trouble and still have election.
Right.
I saw the reason, but I'm glad we're back to May.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I like May. I mean, because that's what we're used to, I
Yeah.
guess.
Yeah. So what else?
Okay, let's see.
We've got we'll take a break here, about 6.5 minutes here, so the engineer in Jonesboro can pick us up. About 6.5 minutes. Act.
Okay. We've done Act 733. We touched on.
Yeah.
No, I don't believe we talked about that. That creates a sex discrimination by abortion, and it prohibits that
That's
from
where
happening.
people could have an abortion if, well, we don't want another boy, we want a girl this time.
That's right. Is China the one that does that?
Probably.
I'm sure there's other countries, but China comes to my mind. But this will stop that. They cannot decide what sex they want, and when they find out, abort that. I mean, it's against the law now to abort that baby just because of its sex. What are we coming to, Dale?
Don't get me started.
It's hard to visualize.
Yeah.
That you would do things, just because you want a boy or a girl.
Man, I can't imagine. I just simply can't imagine.
I cannot either.
What is 684?
That allows the Medigap coverage, is known as the Medicare supplement insurance, to be purchased for individuals with disabilities who are under 65.
Now, I have no idea about that one.
I'm not really up on that one. When you get over into the
coverage, also known as Medicare supplement insurance, to be purchased by individuals with disabilities who are under 65. Okay.
I do not.
So that would be like your Part B.
Mm-hmm. I would think so.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
But I'm just really not up on when it comes to the medical. I read that bill back when we voted on it, and I don't even remember how I voted on it. I read all the bills.
You do a lot of reading, don't you?
I do. It's sometimes.
How many bills went through this last session? 1,100, 1,200?
Well, the problem is they said that there was just so many that passed. But Dale, we're getting bills that's coming out that's going like into, I sat on 2 different committees, and you're having to read the bills for those also on the days that they're coming before you, plus everything you're going to be voting on. And so there's nights that I might get to bed at 2 o'clock.
But what time do you get out of the Capitol? 5, 6, 7 o'clock at night?
Well,
and then have to have a dinner.
We get out sometimes around 6, but I go back and we start going through these bills, and you have a chance to sit and listen to the ones that maybe are going to present that bill, and they'll give you some ideas and they'll talk on it, or maybe someone that's sitting there with us knows something about it. And then when you go back home to your apartment and you sit down and you start reading those bills, it kind of opens up a whole new world for you, because you can understand that.
And, a lot of people don't know, but a lot of the bills are available online during session, where you can actually look at them.
Before we vote on them?
Yeah.
I do know I get a lot of calls sometimes, especially things that have got people up in arms, letting you know, please don't vote for that, or vote for it. In which it's good to hear from your constituents. I really don't enjoy hearing from all over the state, because how many is it? Do we have 30,000? How many does a legislator have? Constituents?
I don't remember.
I can't remember.
I have to pull it up online.
I can't remember that total. But to hear from them, those are the ones you want to hear from.
Well, what happens, like I say, we're coming to you now from Mountain Home, but what's going on in Jonesboro, Stuttgart, Little Rock, Fayetteville, Fort Smith, totally different.
Right.
And, you know, what is good for Northwest Arkansas may not be good for Northeast Arkansas.
And I like to listen to what they're saying.
And these are state laws.
Yes, it is. And it's going to affect everybody across the state. But number one, my concern is Baxter County. How is that going to
That's why you were elected by the
Baxter County? And then I try to take into effect, is this going to, you know, like I said on city, county, local, and the laws that we start passing because somebody's city's having problems, it will affect every city across the state. And so I try to take into consideration all of those. Even though that one city may need something, I don't want to put the cities here in Baxter County or our surrounding area to have to deal with that law.
I gave out some bad information. Our good friend, Ken Yang. Election day is Tuesday, November 6th. It's the first Tuesday of a full week.
Okay.
Yeah. Thanks, Ken. Thanks for tuning in.
We need somebody to keep us straight.
Let's see, about 45 seconds before we go to break. We got a short one there we can talk about?
Let's see. We've just about covered them.
Yeah. We get 392, 720 modifies requirements of registering with the SOS for charitable organizations and our paid solicitation before the solicitation and amends the financial report requirements.
So I'm not really sure on that. I did not look these up and reread them. Some of them that I had to talk about today, I read, but it was still a lot of reading. That one on the law for the veterans is, this is how thick it is.
Oh my goodness. We're visiting with State Representative Nelda Speaks. You're listening to the Paul Harrell program. Dale Hoffman sitting in for Paul this week with the studios of XL7 Television in Mountain Home, Arkansas, where it's time for a break, and we will be right back after this.
All you big government establishment Republicans out there, hope you're listening. I keep a close watch on these votes of mine. I keep my finger in the wind all the time. I vote big government, and you will pay with your dime. 'Cause every time I toe the line. You know, there's always an excuse not to shrink government. It's much easier just to toe that line. I find it very easy to be rhino blue. I find I'm not alone when failing to come through. Yes, big government, I'm a fool for you. 'Cause every time I toe that line, legislative sleight of hand would be an accurate description. Or you could just say, they can't quit towing that party line. As sure as night is dark and day is light, I'll vote big government both day and night. And act like I'm shocked when it all comes to light. 'Cause every time I toe the line. You know, the phrase toe the line is the equivalent of toe the mark, both of which mean to conform to a rule or standard. You could also call it the status quo. Tax and spend, I'm always on your side. I love writing government checks that I cannot hide. Buying people's votes always turns the tide. 'Cause every time I toe the line. The Oxford Dictionary Word Histories. The idiom toe the line, from an athletics analogy, originated in the early 19th century. I hope you don't watch these votes of mine. Hope you don't see through the lies and slime. 'Cause I plan on spending with your dime. 'Cause every time I toe the line. toe in the line is what the folks down in Little Rock call progress.
PHP Parody.
And welcome back to the Paul Harrell program. Dale Hoffman sitting in for Paul Harrell this week. And we are at the studios of XL7 Television in Mountain Home, Arkansas. And another big announcement. Conduit Media Group's flagship conservative talk show, the Paul Harrell program, will be changing its name and expanding to the Little Rock market on January 8th. Conduit News Radio with Paul Harrell will begin airing in Central Arkansas on 96.5 The Answer starting Monday, January 8th. All the fine folks in Little Rock get to enjoy Paul Harrell from 6 to 8 a.m. Monday through Friday. It's going to be a big, big thing in Little Rock to have Paul Harrell, the best conservative voice in the state of Arkansas.
I'm envious of them.
And so we're visiting with State Representative Nelda Speaks, and what we're going to talk about, what happened. This is what we call fiscal session,
yes.
FISCAL, fiscal session coming up, in February?
It will be February.
About the 14th or 15th?
It's the 12th, I believe,
12th, yeah.
and it can go into March.
Long time.
Just depending.
Now, this is the budgetary items.
Yes, it is.
Well, tell us what happened when you first got elected.
Okay.
Okay, you were elected in?
I was elected in November, and then... Let's see, this is my 4th year, so subtract that back.
13, 12, where'd you go in? I don't remember.
Was it 16?
Must have been 16.
I think 16.
So.
Because you're elected in, and then you take office in, well, no, it wouldn't be 16, because you're elected in an even year and take office in an uneven year.
Uh-huh.
So. But maybe Ken Yang of Texas.
Was your first session of fiscal or?
Well, my first session when we went in, of course, they had worked on the budget back in the prior year, and then.
And when you took office, so you inherited what was done by
whatever took place. Well, then they worked on it, and I had sat through the budget meetings on that one that we were going to vote on. But what happens? If they can't balance this out, then they start looking for something where they can cut. Well, that's when they cut the senior centers, and
the library.
The library, I think, even some turnback got cut, if I'm not mistaken. Well, none of us knew that sitting out there because we had not been in that little meeting that had been held, and so we voted. And we voted on it. I mean, I had not seen anything. They'd cut and done some things, so I did not see that anything was going to happen. So we voted for it, and the next morning I start getting all these phone calls of what happened, because we're still in the heat of the battle down there, and they'd done that right at the very first. So
let's recap. You were elected in November.
In November.
I'm going to say you were elected in midterm in 15, 16, 17, because you did, your 16 would have been your physical. Then your 17 was your legislative because you're back in fiscal this year.
Right.
So November of 15, you were elected. January 1st or January 20th, you take office. And by February, March, and April, you're hit with a budget that somebody else proposed.
Has already proposed. And
you don't even have a chance to read the entire budget.
So you don't know. And then when, after that happened, so this time, I had sat through the budgets, and I knew, but then when it came time to vote on it, because they cut after you do not see any of this. And so I stood and asked the question, have you cut the senior centers, the libraries, or what have you cut? And they looked back and they said, no, we did not cut anything. Well, one of the new ones that had come in, they said, thank you so much. I had no idea. And I said, well, we all got burnt once, and I didn't feel like I'd be burnt again.
Yeah.
But it makes it really tough because you've got to stay on your toes to make sure that things are not done to balance a budget and that. And even setting through these budget stuff, when we get down to vote on them, they can go in and have changed it, and we will not have any idea.
I was told, and I'll stand corrected, somebody wants to send me a text on this, once the title of a bill is established through the Secretary of State's office, the title cannot be changed, but the body of the bill can be amended several times. Things can be stricken, things can be added. So I can have a bill that says Arkansas to convert to purple stop signs. Mm-hmm. Okay, so everybody likes my bill, but let's say that in the process it says you can't go fishing on Saturday. It's not in the title, but if you don't read page 16, 17, or 18, they hide that. And I've seen it in other things, where one thing that sounds really, really good, but when you flip back on page 23, paragraph 4, no, wait a minute. If we vote for this and you got this in there, I don't like these earmarks and pig trails that we go through.
Well, one of the things, too, is we have, like, a bill will come out of the House that you really are for and you voted on it, but it goes over to the Senate and they don't like that bill and they won't pass it, then that bill dies.
And then you got to start over.
Yeah, well, it's over unless somebody tries to do something else different with another bill. And see, this past year...
So is that how it happens? They title a bill something different and hide what you wanted in there?
Right. I mean, they can do that. It'll be their bill. It won't be the same bill that you
had.
Yeah.
But,
of course, we keep up with our own bills. It's just that it's hard to keep up with what did not pass out of the Senate.
We're running short on time. We've got a minute before we take the break here, about 2 minutes before we take a break. But has anybody considered drafting a law in Arkansas that says the title of the bill must 100% match the body of the content of the bill?
There was something.
So if I wanted purple stop signs in Arkansas, and it says Arkansas shall have purple stop signs with yellow print starting on March 1st, 2020, that's it.
Well, I think they did do something this time. Remember the bill where all the ethics, it looked like an ethics bill and all of this. It was full of stuff.
The ethical bill.
Yes.
And the unethical
and
ethics
that one
bill
is going to the penitentiary, I think.
I read that one in its entirety. Yeah. The unethical ethics bill. Oh,
yes,
boy. Yeah.
Right.
My goodness. Yeah. Another minute before we go to break here. What do we need to talk about?
Well, we were just talking about the bills and that and reading the bills and that. I wish Arkansas, but you can't get it passed, but I wish that each legislator could only do maybe one bill or two bills. Now, not all
of us. Well, with 100, what do you got, 99 to 100? You're 99 or 100?
It's 100 in the House.
You got 100 in the House. So
that'd be 200 even at 2. But they have too many ideas, and you will never get that passed.
Yeah.
I know Scott talked about Senator Scott, I should say. He talked about trying to limit, that, but
I know
you get no groundwork on that.
He went after the seatbelt bill too. Got his head slapped too. Anyway, we're visiting with State Representative Nelda Speaks. You're listening to the Paul Harrell program live from Mountain Home, Arkansas. Dale Hoffman filling in this week. Time for the top of the hour break. We will be right back.
Rush, Glenn, Sean, and Paul. This is Jonesboro's 1013 FM News Talk, KBTM.
Welcome those of you watching at paulharrell.com, Facebook Live, or our YouTube page, The Paul Harrell Program. This is the set where we shoot our Wednesday weekly videos for our Patreon subscribers. And if you want to get on board and get extra Paul Harrell Program content because you want to partner with us, you believe the show has value, you want to help us keep the show on the air, you want to help us grow the show, you want to help us make videos like this one even better, then you need to seriously think about subscribing to Patreon. It's patreon.com/thephp. That's patreon.com/thephp. Get extra content today, partner with us, and help build the Liberty Machine. We're asking you to partner with us for as little as $5 a month. Now, you can go up from there. You can go to $10 a month and get extra features, or $25 a month and become a Conduit Media Insider. But for $5 a month, you can really help us out. You can get extra content. You can see what we talk about on sets like this. And I promise you, you won't be disappointed. Thanks for watching. Back in a moment.
Paul Harrell, weekdays from 4 to 6. Learn more at paulharrell.com.
As a citizen of of North Central Arkansas, the state of Arkansas, of this country, to get involved.
Yeah.
And not just to be sitting around and waiting, we're assuming that, there's this government program or there's this. To me, if you want lower taxes, if you want less government, it must be predicated by being involved in your communities, and it's got to start at your front doorstep and work its way out.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that because you actually attempted to do that. You had a bill that Governor Asa Hutchinson actually vetoed that would have enabled VFWs to kind of bypass a rule that was being enforced, or other organizations like VFW,
sure.
To be able to donate to charity and things like that. Remind us about what that was about.
Okay, well, and first of all, I've had, conversations with the governor since then about this. I believe that we're going to be able to get, I'm going to run another bill, hopefully when we go to our next general session, and, to be able to address this. So I never felt the governor had any, vendettas against the VFWs or anything, and I think that we've been able to kind of clear the air and get on the same page. But, the issue is that you have VFWs, Elks Clubs, American Legions, and, they have these gaming machines on their premises, which they've had for decades, that, these are private clubs where members go in there and they'll put $5 in a machine and they might win $10 and they just kind of recycle it back in. And anyway, the organizations pay sales tax on the proceeds. They have to pay a permit fee for a sticker to go on these machines, so the state's making money off of it. But these organizations weren't using that money to fund their operations. They were using it to fund their charitable giving at the local level.
Yeah.
And so to me, it's very in line with conservatism and the Republican platform of government doesn't need to be standing in the way of that. Government needs to be getting out of the way of that because these folks aren't hurting nobody. As a matter of fact, they're doing a lot of good. And I know my Elks Club here in Mountain Home, 2 years ago, they raised almost $40,000 for local charity.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so that's money
awesome.
That's money that stayed in Baxter County that went to folks in true need. And these VFW posts, they're working out to help not just fellow veterans, but needy children, needy families. I mean, these are people that are really trying to be proactive and to do for their community and help their people in their community. And I think that government, really needs to kind of get out of the way and let these people, continue to do what they've been doing for literally, Paul, decades with no problem.
Yeah.
And I'm confident that we're going to be able to address that. I'm not giving up on it. People in Little Rock know I'm not going to give up on it. And so I feel confident that, the next go-around, we're going to get it done.
Good.
You always learn a few things in defeat, Paul. And so, I kind of came up a little bit short this year on that bill. But I learned a few things in the process. And so I plan on applying that experience and putting it to good use the next go-around.
Yeah.
Kind of like you do with the Christmas lights.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Exactly right. Got to replace that fuse and try again. We're talking with Senator Scott Flippo. He is a senator from North Central Arkansas. It is Senate District 17. And go ahead.
Paul, I want to interject here. So all the news today, Senator Tom Cotton going to the CIA. Tell me that you've heard about this.
I did hear about it. I was covering a breaking story, and I didn't get to mention it the first hour. But, yeah, the New York Times is reporting, and this is really kind of shaking up Arkansas. It's a secondary story today, or it was on my show. That White House plans that Tillerson's going to be out eventually. They're going to move current CIA Director Pompeo into the Secretary of State position, and they're saying Tom Cotton go to the CIA. And so a lot of people now speculating, okay, well, what does that mean for Arkansas? Do we have a special election? Does the governor appoint somebody? And so what have you heard, Scott?
So, first of all, I've not had any conversations with the governor or Senator Cotton or, anything to the such. So anything I have is speculation. From what I've heard, I think what I'm hearing is it's likely that there would be a special election if that was indeed to take place. And I'm hoping you and your listeners will not hold my feet to the fire on that. But that's been what I've been hearing, is that if that was to happen, that it would be a special election. And, of course, I would expect there'd be any number of, interested, folks that would be interested in pursuing that seat.
Yeah.
And so I think that could actually, change several dynamics here at the state level in the Republican Party. And my own personal preference would.
The maintenance of a free society is a very difficult and complicated thing, and it requires a self-denying ordinance of the most extreme kind. It requires a willingness to put up with temporary evils on the basis of the subtle and sophisticated understanding that if you step in to do something about them, you not only may make them worse, but you will spread your tentacles and get bad results elsewhere.
I think it's time we ask ourselves if we still know the freedoms that were intended for us by the Founding Fathers. We lose freedom here, there's no place to escape to. This is the last stand on earth. Whether we believe in our capacity for self-government or whether we abandon the American Revolution and confess that a little intellectual elite in a far distant capital can plan our lives for us better than we can plan them ourselves.
You're listening to the Paul Harrell program, brought to you by Conduit Media Group.
Paul Harrell this week while he's on vacation, coming to you from the XO7 television studios in Mountain Home, Arkansas. And be sure to tune in Paul Harrell in Little Rock on the Answer 96.5 from 6 to 8 a.m. And Conduit News Radio will be bringing you the top conservative talk radio show in the Little Rock market with the Paul Harrell program. Paul Harrell, of course, the number one, in my opinion, for conservative talk radio. Visiting now with Nell to Speak, state representative, and this is from the Arkansas Democrat Gazette, December 31st. And let's see what, I don't think they have the volume printed on there. Anyway, it says state 36th in access to health care. And I want to run through this article just to bring awareness. Andy Davis has written this article from the Arkansas Democrat. It says 2 years after Arkansas expanded Medicaid program, the state's residents were less likely to spend large amounts of their income on medical bills or go without care because of the cost, a report found. The report by the Commonwealth Fund, a health policy research organization based in New York City, ranked Arkansas number 36 among the states in the amount of access that residents had to healthcare services in 2016, up from 47 in 2013. But in another report by the United Health Foundation, a charity established by Monaca, Minnesota-based United Health Group, Arkansas continued to rank 48th in the overall health of its residents. And it goes on to say, after Medicaid expansion took effect in 2014, the state's rates of obesity, diabetes, and death from heart disease and cancer continued climbing, the report found. Joe Thompson, director of the Arkansas Center for Health Improvement, said such indicators reflect factors including poor diet and lack of exercise that having coverage doesn't necessarily change. The healthcare system is really not going to achieve health, Thompson said. That's going to take community and family behavior change and investments. Arkansas Medicaid expansion, known as Arkansas Works, extended eligibility to adults with incomes up to 138% of the poverty level. This year, that threshold is $16,643 for an individual, or $33,948 for a family of four. Written on December 31st of 2017, so those numbers would reflect the calendar year of 2017. Your thoughts on that?
I don't know.
Same here.
I just don't know.
You know, this is something that was inherited from a Democrat program that nobody wanted.
That's right.
You know, is it working? It has helped some, you know, and we have to look at this right now as a broken clock is right twice a day. You know, there may be some factors that work that may be helping the local hospital in Baxter County, and we hope it does. But at the same time, it may be hurting somebody in Little Rock or Texarkana or Jonesboro. And to get every indicator 100% factual is hard. And so with the Medicare, Medicaid cuts, I know it really hurt this area because of the large amount of retired people we have. So
when I went door to door, Dale, the thing that I heard more than anything is, you know, they've worked all their life, and they said, we've always had insurance, but we don't have insurance now. We cannot afford it. And those are the things that really bother me, is our seniors that have worked, have saved, have, you know, they fulfilled the things that they should do, but they can't afford the insurance.
I have heard a family of two, early 50s, healthy, making good money, with Blue Cross Blue Shield at a policy rate of $1,800 a month. It's 2.1, 2.2 times more than their house payment.
See, and something's going to have to give on this. I don't know all the answers, but still yet something's going to have to give, because those are the people that I feel like we owe to, and we need to get people back to work. We're trying to do that, you know. I'm thankful that...
But why can't we open this up between state lines? I mean, we're 15 miles from the state line, about 23 miles from Gainesville, Missouri, here from the studio. And I'm sure Fort Smith or Fayetteville or something, you can go to Oklahoma. Texarkana can go to Texas, Louisiana. If you got a better price, a better product, buy it.
Right.
You know.
And it should be that way.
Yeah.
I mean, and that will drive
prices down.
Yes.
Competition.
It's competition.
Yeah.
And we know competition's good. We don't always like it, but it's good.
Especially when Chicago plays St. Louis.
It's right. It's the balance. It balances things out.
But there again, I've got a friend here in Mountain Home that had to have insurance, so he went with Obamacare. $600 a month with a $12,000 deductible. So you're looking $7,200 a month plus $12,000. So you figure that you're almost at $20,000 over one health issue. But like Nancy, it's only going to cost about $15,000. To her, that's dinner. You know.
But the thing of it is, these people are working. They're trying to support their families.
Exactly.
And they can't do it.
No.
They cannot do it on that. And so, you know, they're caught in this loop. And I do think we were promised that it would open up to where you could buy insurance anywhere you wanted to. You could keep your own insurance. And it's... But it's making it hard on businesses. It's making it...
Well, I know school teachers that had the top-of-the-line plan for their family, children under 18 plus, you know, single mom, that were $400 to $500 a month, where that plan went to $1,100, $1,200, where the very basic bare bones barely cover you for $500 a month. It's terrible. So... my platform this week is how can we as Republicans come together and solve these issues? I'm not a fan of Arkansas Works, and I've discussed it with the governor. We agree to disagree. But there again, this was an inherited issue with the governor from Mike Beebe.
And that's what's happened, I do believe, with our people that's in our congressmen and that, you know, they have wanted to get rid of this stuff, but it's been a problem for them. I think they need to get their act together and come up with something. Of course, Arkansas only has four, and think how many California's got. In some of your real liberal places, it's hard for them to accomplish anything.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You know, I can see, you know, now the governor gets pulled from the CEOs of the hospital that need the help. Mm-hmm. You know, and he wants to help, but at the same time, you know, there's the price factors. There's just so many factors here. I wouldn't want to be in his shoes.
No, I don't want to.
On that issue.
I have not supported I call it the Obamacare. It's a form of it. Mm-hmm. It was Arkansas Works now, but it was something else before that.
Private option.
The private option.
Well, now, in some aspects, what the governor has done is better than what we had before. Mm. But
it's still not good enough.
Yeah, I mean, we keep covering that same old book, Obamacare, call it something else. You know, this is the discussion that's going to go on probably into the 2019 session when you go back into Assembly. You know, but a lot is going to be determined on the national scene.
Well, it's going to be interesting to see.
And I say there's not going to be anything more done on the health care bill until after the midterm elections in November.
But what have they really done in Washington?
Well, the tax reform has got the mandate out of there.
See.
And I think that's going to make a big difference. And once the people realize, oh, well, we don't have to have this, we're not going to have that tax penalty, not going to have this, we got more money in our paycheck. Now you get Republicans reelected back in office in November of 18. Now you got 2 more years to play with Obamacare after the midterms, December of this year, and then January of 19 through December of 20, or let's say through October of 20, because you're going to have a presidential election in 2020. And I think that's what the plan is.
It's a lot of things are geared for elections.
So I think if we sit tight, live with what we got the best way we can, and see what the federal government does first with Obamacare before we start attacking on Arkansas Works. None of us like it, but it's still a factor that we got to deal with that was inherited by a Democrat majority in Arkansas.
We're going to have to help the ones that's working.
That's right.
They're going to have to, and I don't mean freebies. I'm just talking about things are going to have to get down to where they can afford it.
When we get back from break, I'll tell you a story of a young man that I talked to in Kennett, Missouri about 3 years ago. Time for a quick break. You're listening to the Paul Harrell program from Mountain Home, Arkansas, the studios of XO7 Television. More with Nelda Speak, State Representative, right after this.
If you're like me, you believe that small business is the heart of Arkansas's economic engine, and it should be viewed that way by the politicians in Little Rock. Conduit for Commerce also believes, like you and I believe, policies that achieve less regulation and lower taxation help small business in Arkansas thrive. Other policies like small, constitutionally consistent government and reducing citizen dependency on government keeps it from growing and expanding its influence on our daily lives. Conduit for Commerce works every day to educate the general public and legislators on these important priorities in the name of Arkansas small business. By the way, contributions to Conduit for Commerce are tax deductible. Log on now to conduitforcommerce.org and click on Contact Us on the right side of the page. That's conduitforcommerce.org. Go there now and learn the facts on protecting small business in Arkansas.
In a world full of constituents with social media accounts, bloggers just looking to increase their page views, and a talk radio host who generally is just the worst, how are Little Rock's elite supposed to conduct business with such a lack of privacy? Introducing the 1835 Club, older and more refined than other clubs that claim discretion. The 1835 Club is for seasoned political veterans that want to conduct the highest form of aristocratic business with the public's money. Are you a schemer? Do you someday want a guaranteed flow of taxpayer money to support your business? Is it your dream to see the .gov domain at the end of your business website? Don't listen to the imitators. The 1835 Club is the place where corrupt politicians and businessmen hatch their next crony schemes. At the 1835 Club, we make lobbying safe and legal. Ethics, Why, of course. All business is done in an ethical manner. Just look for the sign above the door that reads, Loophole. Are you tired of the Capitol Police restricting your access to the roof after a perfectly good night of drinking? The 1835 Club has libations and a perfectly good roof. Other crony clubs that promise discretion try to lure you in by advertising bars made out of aeroplanes. Well, at the 1835 Club, instead of an airplane fuselage, we've got a space shuttle. No, not a bar. We've got an actual space shuttle that makes a daily run to the moon so members of the 1835 Club can have some real privacy away from the bloggers and taxpayers. Are you an Arkansas aristocrat? Do you want to be? It's the 1835 Club, and we work tirelessly to make sure the good old boy system remains alive and well. Join today.
Disclaimer. The 1835 Club reserves the right to deny membership to anyone who has principles. Any talk of the Declaration of Independence or the Constitution must be done in jest or, at the very least, with a condescending tone. And finally, the 1835 Club will be given a 25% commission of any agreements made between politicians and the business community.
PHP Parody. Paul Harrell Program.
We're back live with the Paul Harrell program. Dale Hoffman sitting in for Paul Harrell this week while he's on vacation, coming to you from the XL7 television studios in Mountain Home, Arkansas, visiting with State Representative Nelda Speaks. And, let's talk about this private option and the Arkansas Works. This was an inherited Obamacare implementation when our governor, Mike Beebe, knew that he was term limited, hoping for an appointment or lobby job after being governor. And so, of course, he's going to go along with the president on this. So a lot of this stuff is inherited. But we had several weeks ago visited with our county assessor here in Baxter County. You pay a tax in Arkansas for owning a cow, a horse, a tractor, a boat, a trailer, a combine, a trailer behind the tractor. If I sold you my vehicle today for more than $4,501, you're going to pay a tax on a vehicle that has 201,000 miles for buying it. You're going to pay a fee for the title transfer. You're going to pay a license fee, and you're going to have to pay a tax for owning it after you paid a tax for buying it. Tax. We were under Democrat rule for how many years in Arkansas until we finally turned the state red?
It's been all my life.
And now we're dealing with this. So it's a tax. So when we start attacking our own Republicans, we've only been red for 6, 8, maybe 10 years at the most in Arkansas. Give us a chance. This goes all the way back to Reconstruction. These taxes were not implemented over the years by a Republican majority. Were they not?
I think you're right. All of that. That's why our state is so far behind right now. But we need to get to be conservative and start looking. Now we're looking at the tax, revamping the tax system in Little Rock.
And I do not like income tax. I said it yesterday. We got to talking a little bit about the new internet tax after the veterans thing had gone through. Do I like it? No. What am I going to do about it? We got this thing off of the veterans, but now... so we just moved it from them to us on the used tires and the internet. I'm not a big internet shopper because I like to do my mom and pop shops, especially at Christmas time here in north central Arkansas. But a lot of folks rely on that Amazon and,
That's true. And that was the one thing they put in there I hated so bad. but we had promised the veterans to do it.
But there's another earmark.
And, yes. But
can you imagine somebody not supporting our veterans? We couldn't just say reduce or take away the income tax on veterans' pensions, period. Mm-hmm. And they wouldn't do it unless they put the tax somewhere else.
But I just gave you figures of what they are generating in the economy.
Exactly.
But yet we had to add all of this other stuff.
A used tire.
Yes. I begged the girl that was the representative that was running that, let's pull this down and let's look at this and get rid of this. And on the tire deal, that is all of this is going to generate more money than what we need for this other.
And so let's talk about, I've talked with Lieutenant Governor. We need to reduce spending. I agree.
We've got to reduce spending.
Where do we start there?
We need to start looking at some of the things. I think the elected officials' offices, I do believe a lot of our Republicans, when they came in, they did cut back some of their staff. They cut back on different things. And so I think they have basically done a lot themselves.
Well, remember Mark Darr, when he went in as Lieutenant Governor, he reduced his staff his expenses by 16%.
Right. And our Lieutenant Governor has done that. But we're top heavy with people. We've got more employees, and I'm not saying that we just need to go in and start cutting out, but we shouldn't be replacing these people that's retiring. And I think that number one, we have too many people, and by the time you pay all of the benefits, everything.
Well, let's look at another expenditure that we talked about yesterday. You look at the football coach that was fired from Arkansas. His buyout's $15-point-something million. When the Arkansas Democrat-Gazette will print out state employees, the football coach is the highest-paid state employee. Well, not all that money comes from comes from here and there on TV. Okay, he's either a state employee getting tax money or he's not. If he's a state employee, you've got to assume there's tax money in there somewhere. Now, to me, it wasn't worth that kind of money for that buyout, $15-point-something million. The same thing with the basketball coach. Are they worth this kind of money? And if it's a state-supported school, why is there tuition?
Why is our tuition keeps going up? I mean,
if tax dollars are not involved, that's one thing. But if you say this is a state employee making this kind of money, $2-point-something million or $3-point-something million, but it's only 300-and-some thousand compared to everything else comes from football and CBS and ESPN. Show me some figures. I want to see where it's coming from. If we got transparency, I think the University of Arkansas and the football programs need to be transparent. Where's the money coming from? How much of our tax money is going to support something that we have to buy back into when our students go to school?
Why can't you be using that money for something else? I mean,
how far could you spread $15-point-something million in the state of Arkansas in education?
It would sure help these children going to college. And the thing is, it's getting to the point that it's going to be hard for them to continue going to college with all this debt. Yes.
You got college kids coming out $70,000 to $150,000 in debt. They want to buy a home and get married. You buy a car, you buy a house, plus you got the school loans. They're going to be $400,000 in debt before they're 30 years old in the state of Arkansas.
I've got a grandson that's going to medical school, and I can't even begin to think what he owes, and he's not through.
We're visiting with Nelda Speak, state representative here in North Central Arkansas, listening to the Paul Harrell program live from the XL7 television studios in Mountain Home, Arkansas. It's time for another break, and we will be right back after this, so stick around.
Paul Harrell, weekdays from 4 to 6. Learn more at paulharrell.com.
Would like to see a special election.
Yeah. Oh, of course.
I think Senator Cotton's got 3 years left on his term. You know, and I really believe, I think special elections are always what's best for a republic and a democracy. So I think that's right in line, and I would love to see that happen in this situation, and I'm hopeful that it will. But again, I have not had or heard anything directly out of the governor's office or how he plans on approaching this. So I want to be very clear about that.
Oh yeah, of course. This is all speculation. I've been doing some research, and I do think a special election would be possible if Tom Cotton were to go to the CIA. But on some of my resources, though, they do say that Arkansas is the governor does appoint, or at least can.
Correct.
In the following 36 states, the governor makes an appointment to fill the U.S. Senate vacancy, and the appointee serves until the next regularly scheduled statewide general election. Arkansas is on that list, but like you said, you know, Scott, I think a special election would be best there, considering there's so much time to, you know, for Cotton's term isn't up for a while.
Sure, and so you know we will see. You know, and at this point. You see a lot of things in the news that aren't always inherently true, or there's just shades of truth to it. But I do fully believe that this is something that's being discussed in D.C. right now and being discussed seriously. I've always heard, you know, for a while now, you know, rumors about Senator Cotton going to, the Pentagon Defense Secretary or the CIA.
Yeah.
And I kind of never thought that he would want to, you know, that he would step down from his Senate seat to do that. I wouldn't say that I have I'm close personal friends with Senator Cotton. Of course, I do know him, and we've had several conversations over the years. But I trust his judgment. Yeah. And I think that Senator Cotton's a true public servant, and he will do what he thinks is the best interest of this country. And if that means going to the CIA and he feels like he can make an impact there, I would expect that he would do so. If he feels that, you know, he can best serve in the Senate, I would expect that he would stay there.
Yeah.
But I think Senator Cotton's been a great voice for Arkansas, a great voice at the national level. So I personally would hate to see him go, but certainly would respect that this guy, he's up there to serve not just our state, but serve our country. And so I have every bit of confidence that he's going to make the right decision there.
Yeah.
And I have confidence in the people of Arkansas that they will find a fine person to, you know, if he does indeed move on to the CIA, that, you know, if it goes to a special election, that the citizens, you know, will replace him with just an equally good a person.
Well,
and who knows who that's going to be?
Right, and the Cotton's office, Senator Cotton's office, has responded to this report from the New York Times saying that you know, he's only interested in serving Arkansans in the state of Arkansas. The White House issues a statement that's kind of it's a denial, but not really a denial. You have Bob Corker over in Tennessee. He's come out now and he has said that Tillerson will not be forced out. It's like, well, okay, well, you know, pretty sure, and we're talking about the President of the United States decision here.
Yeah.
So it's all
what happened
fascinating.
To the President? The President's cabinet? You know, we've all heard this saying: "You serve at the pleasure of the President."
Mm-hmm.
Not at the pleasure of the senator from Tennessee or wherever. You serve at the pleasure of the president, and the president is ultimately the one that makes those decisions, you know, regarding his cabinet. So for Senator Corker or anybody else to make any comments about, you know, what President Trump is going to do with regards to the Secretary of State Tillerson or with Senator Cotton going to CIA, that's his decision to make.
Yeah.
And so I think.
Fighting dependency on government so Arkansas can be the land of opportunity once again. Paul Harrell is on now.
we are back with the Paul Harrell program live from Mountain Home, Arkansas. Dale Hoffman sitting in for Paul this week. Coming to you from the XL7 television studios in Mountain Home, Arkansas, where it's cold, cold, cold.
And where is Paul? Is he down on the Florida beaches?
Bahamas.
We're going to tell him we're going to replace him.
Who knows where he's hiding out somewhere. Yeah. Anyway,
I was kidding.
Of course, real quick, I want to reiterate the fact that the Paul Harrell program, Conduit News Radio announces the Paul Harrell program will be changing its name and expanding to the Little Rock market. Conduit News Radio with Paul Harrell. On January 8th on 96.5 FM, The Answer on Monday, January 8th from 6 to 8 a.m. Drive time morning with Paul Harrell.
That's going to be great.
Paul Harrell, of course, is the best in conservative talk radio in the state of Arkansas.
I believe that.
Very good, and it's an honor to be sitting in his chair. Mm-hmm. Well, we've got about 24 minutes. We could really stir some stuff up across the
That's
state.
right, and then let Paul take care of it when he gets back.
Hey, Paul, we left this mess for highways in Arkansas. I want to point something out, and I've talked to several elected officials, and it's too ironic, but nobody can say I'm wrong. The Interstate Highway Program, I did some research on this. Interstate highways, 2-digit, ending in 0, 10, 20, 30, 40, and they go on up north, are supposed to be your longest east-west routes. My research showed that Interstate 30 was supposed to be replacing Highway 67, Chicago, St. Louis, Little Rock, Dallas, and possibly even farther south. I-30 goes from Little Rock to Dallas. Now, I-49, which was I-540, Fort Smith to Fayetteville. It's ironic that the central hub of both these interstates would be Little Rock. But you look at it, when Arkansas was in the Southwest Conference, and you got those folks, well, we don't want to have to drive on 2-lane highways. So when you're in Little Rock going to Dallas, you're on a 4-lane highway. When you're in Little Rock going to Fayetteville, you're now on a 4-lane highway. My question is, why has I-49 been not even started between Fort Smith to Texarkana? Because Louisiana has it done. Missouri has it done because it's supposed to be a corridor to go to Kansas City from Louisiana. It's ironic that those that want to go to a Razorback game from Little Rock have all 4-lane highways, whether it's in Dallas, Fort Smith, or Fayetteville.
Well, what about us?
What about us?
412.
And
we were promised by Bill Clinton that it
those
would
promises go a long way, don't they? Oh, yeah.
But I'm going to hold him to it. But he promised.
Billy boy, we need our highways.
He promised that 412 would be a 4-lane. And you drive from Harrison.
It's a Dalmatian
here.
right now. It's spotted here and here and here and here. That's it.
Yes. And, you know, I've said I feel like sometimes right in our area, we're just like stepchildren to getting a lot. Now, they've been working, the highway department's been working, and they're doing the best they can. I'm not saying that. They've been very good. They've helped me a lot when there's been things, and I have nothing to say against them. But what I can't figure out is the money that we're going to have to finish up to where, so we can have an east-west corridor out of here.
Somebody mentioned to me just last week, why can't we open up Interstate 555 or 155? Because when I travel to Nashville, Tennessee area, I go from Mountain Home to Paragould, Arkansas on 62 412 East, and I continue to Dyersburg, Tennessee on Interstate 155, but at Dyersburg it turns back to 412 to go to Jackson, Tennessee. Okay, so you've got Interstate 155 and you've got a 4-lane at Kennett, Missouri that goes back down to 2-lane in Arkansas. But at the same token, we're still trying to get speed limits up from 55. This goes back to January of 1974. And Deanne, of course, got that going, and we need to research this. Folks, when I moved to Arkansas in 1972, once I left Mountain Home on Highway 62, east or west, it was 65 miles an hour.
Right.
Our roads are better, our cars are safer, our tires are better, our brakes are better, we got navigation systems, we got cars that will stop before I can react, and I got to drive 55.
See, I know.
But you go to Texas, and you drive 70, 75, and 85 miles an hour. And I'm not saying that I'm wanting to race across North Arkansas.
No.
I just want to get to a decent speed without Mr. Arkansas State Police getting me for doing 57 and a 55.
It's, I was hoping, I know that they're working on it, but there are places that, not up here, I don't mean that, but there are places going toward Little Rock that the roads are, you've got four lanes. You know, like when you leave Milburn, if you go down that direction, those roads are good.
I quit using, if you've not been in Mountain Home, you wouldn't know, but for us to get to Little Rock, we got the normal procedure is to go from Mountain Home to Yellville, Highway 14 to Highway 27, which is mountainous and crooked. You can average about 37 to 38 miles an hour if you don't get behind a slow vehicle. Other than that, to go from Mountain Home to Marshall, which is 55 miles, can take you an hour and a half.
Right.
And if you look at your, 55 miles an hour means I should be able to go 55 miles in an hour, but it can take you 90 minutes to go 55 miles because it's that slow. Highway 65, the last time I went down there, I thought, this is going to tear my vehicle up. It is so rough. So I chose to go through Heber Springs on Highway 5 to 25 and come out just north of Conway, north of Greenbrier down there, and that is an outstanding road. It's nice.
They've done a lot.
They've done a lot.
They've done a lot. In fact, going down Highway 5, they've resurfaced
it's smooth.
Out of Calico to, and it's much better.
And the bridge was dedicated on Veterans Day south of Mountain View down there. You don't go around the ravine.
It's beautiful.
You've got a beautiful road, beautiful drive, smooth. That's the way to go.
From Mountain View on, it's pretty good. Yep. I mean, but you haven't. Up in here, we have no passing lanes, and I know that they are working, trying to do something for 5.
And I talked to the governor about this. I said, if you ever get a chance, go from, excuse me, I hit the microphone here. If you go from West Plains, Missouri to Rolla, Missouri on US 63, rather than 4-lane, they have alternating passing lanes, and you're at 60 to 65 miles an hour. And it says passing lane in 1 mile. Be patient. You've got a lane, which means the other lane cannot pass. So if you're going north on 63, it says passing lane next 2 miles. So you've got 2 miles to get around these vehicles. Whether it's a tractor trailer, somebody pulling a camper, go around them, go back down to your speed limit, and this says passing lane ends half a mile. And then the other lane will get it. And they offset these every 5 to 6 miles. And it has eliminated the time travel to St. Louis by almost 45 minutes. For me, I've actually can drive the speed limit from Mountain Home and go to Busch Stadium in just under 4.5 hours.
Okay. What do you think, Dale? Because I honestly believe until we can get something out of Mountain Home, out of Baxter County, to where we're not going to be able to get much in businesses coming, because we're stifled here because of the due to the fact there's no our roads, our infrastructure here. But do you think with something like that where they could get their products in and out?
The 3-lane, it would help. I was talking with a friend in Rogers, Arkansas about 4 or 5 years ago that was a truck dispatcher. I said, when you're going from Rogers, Arkansas to Jonesboro, what route do you take? They've got 2 choices. They can go to Missouri and grab 60 and go across east and then drop down into Arkansas, or they said normally we go 540 to 40 through Little Rock and all the way around back up into Jonesboro, because they've got it down to when you get from around Harrison, Alpena, and Huntsville, you're down to 34, 33, 32 miles an hour, and every shift in that truck costs them money.
Sure.
They said if I can stay at 70 miles an hour and slow down for Fort Smith to make the swing on 40 and get back up, they're not losing that much money. But the downshift, the time factor, well, from 70 miles an hour, even 65 miles an hour to an average of 35 costs them too much money.
And I know one of the reasons we're in the hills and it costs so much per mile that it doesn't in your delta and those places that's pretty flat. But for us to grow and for our economy to pick up around here, we lose all of the children that go to college, they don't come back here because they don't have jobs.
Share it with Missouri, because we're in the northern part of the state. I know this is not pertinent to folks in Stuttgart and farther south, but put the eastbound lanes in Arkansas and the westbound lanes in Missouri and split the difference.
Well, I did do a resolution for Jim Whalen back at first of the session, and they had it was to increase 412, the east-west corridor.
The northern tier of counties, the mayors are getting together and say we want it 4-lane to cross.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so I've offered to get the legislators together that's all along there, because it will help their economy too.
Sure will.
And I mean, even
even going from Jonesboro to the Fayetteville area on 412. That commerce, it's got to help Harrison.
It's everything.
Even if you're going from Jonesboro to Springfield, Missouri, if you had it 4-lane through Mountain Home Harrison to grab 65 north to Springfield, that would help that commerce in Missouri too. So,
you get to Harrison, and it isn't very far out of Harrison to you going toward Missouri.
Yeah.
Branson. And
it's got a higher speed limit.
4 lanes.
And because of the Branson traffic, they've enhanced that. And so there again, the better way to move traffic has enhanced that economy there going to Branson. We're going to take a quick break coming up here in about 30 seconds. I know we've barked on these highways, but
I know.
I have gone east out of Mountain Home and been behind trucks for 40 miles, and you can't get around them.
I know. We go to Little Rock so much, and it's the roads.
Somebody said, "Why did you ever run for office?" I said, "Because I have to go to Little Rock, and I hate driving to Little Rock from Mountain Home. You just can't get there." More with Nelda Speaks on the Paul Harrell program right after this. Be right back.
Bob Maloney here from ASA News, The Parrot. Breaking news from the Capitol in Little Rock. Over now to our new on-site reporter, Susan Shenanigans. Susan?
Thanks, Bob. The governor has just announced that a Blue Ribbon Task Force is to be formed.
Today, I'm asking your support for a Blue Ribbon Legislative Task Force to be created and directed to recommend further reform.
Now we go live to the chamber to listen in for more information on the task force.
I hereby call this session into order. First on the agenda for today is the formation of the Blue Ribbon Task Force. Is there anyone who would like to give their thoughts on the task force?
Yes, as someone who's deeply conservative, why is the governor choosing the color blue for this task force? Sounds like he's really a Democrat loyalist. Why not a red ribbon to prove he's a true conservative?
Well, I represent Walmart, and we agree with the color of the task force ribbon. The color blue is best consistent with the Walmart brand.
I object to this choice. Blue is the wrong color ribbon for this task force.
Well, who are you?
I am Mr. P.C. Wrights, and I represent Target, and we want the ribbon to be red, not blue.
Hold it right there. This seems like a tough decision. Why not ask the governor to call a special session at a later date for an important decision as this?
I think this is something worth talking about. I motion that we decide the color of the ribbon today.
I second it. Fine. We can decide it now. Does anyone have any other suggestions for the color of the ribbon?
I think the color should be white.
Whoa. Hold on. Definitely not white.
I agree with Mr. P.C. Wrights. Maybe we should choose green for the farmers.
You like the color green because you are a farmer. I think it should be purple, so we can display how Arkansas is an extremely moderate state.
Why are we even discussing this? Shouldn't we be talking about tax reform instead of wasting time with this?
Well, the people have spoken. They believe this is worth talking about, so we are deciding this now.
Excuse me, sir, but shouldn't the color of the ribbon be rainbow to include all types of people?
Please, silence your phones.
I just received a call from Walmart HQ, and they agree with, what was your name again? My name is Fabulous. They agree with Fabulous that the color should be rainbow.
Target concurs with the decision of it being rainbow-colored ribbon.
Is there a motion to make the ribbon rainbow-colored?
I motion to make the color rainbow.
I second the motion. The motion carries because I said so.
The committee will now vote and not be on record to keep the people in the dark. Back to you, Bob.
Thank you, Susan. And thank you for listening to ASA News, The Parrot. Next up, there are reports of a gorilla on top of the Capitol dome demanding massive sums of taxpayer cash. His name? Medicaid expansion.
PHP Parody. The Paul Harrell Program.
And we're back with the final section of the Paul Harrell program. Dale Hoffman filling in for Paul Harrell. We're coming to you from the XL7 television studios in Mountain Home, Arkansas. And be sure to tune in to Paul Harrell on 96.5 The Answer in Little Rock, Monday, January 8th from 6 a.m. to 8 a.m. The finest drive time morning talk show in the state.
Yes.
Paul Harrell, the finest conservative talk voice for Arkansas. Wrapping it up here, a few more minutes. My platform this week is Let's Come Together. Throughout the Barack Obama administration, I've seen probably the most divisive, just socially, economically, spiritually divided this country.
Sad.
I remember the 60s. You know, I'm not a spring chicken. I remember the riots in the 60s. I remember the Democratic National Convention in 68, and I remember all kinds of things of the 60s, and this is just as bad.
I don't think your media was as bad.
I think they told the truth in those days.
Yes. And I think today our media is adding to what we
I don't think they're I think they literally want to stir the fire.
Yes. They want us. I don't think they love America anymore, and it's just it's very devastating to see the hate and the not truthful, not they want to tell you what they want you to believe.
You know, I go back. I remember the day that President Kennedy was shot. I was 5 going on 6, I believe it was, and trying to figure out what really happened. And you come up now into these days and you see the recaps, and I remember one news reporter said, you know, portable tape equipment did not exist in those days. Videotape was actually used for the first time on CBS Evening News in 1956. It was much more than an experiment in those days. But what I'm holding here in an iPhone now that's about 2 years old is probably 1,000 to 10,000 times more technology in my right hand here than what CBS or NBC or ABC News even had the possibilities of buying in those days. And so I think we've manipulated this type of equipment even to the point where we can make false edits in not only audio but video, and we can make things look like, I mean, I saw a cartoon one time where they had Richard Nixon playing golf with Dagwood Bumstead in the newspaper.
So sad.
You know, and I mean, it's just, I know that's tongue-in-cheek, but we need to tell the truth. And people have asked me in my 10 years of doing talk shows in northern Arkansas, what makes you different? Remember, I let people talk. I had Mike Ross on my radio program one time, said, you gonna hang him out to dry? That's not my job. My job is not to hang Mike Ross, a Democrat, or Jared Henderson, a Democrat that's coming. On my shows, you're welcome. I may disagree with you, but it's going to be a healthy disagreement.
Sure.
I'm not going to hate you because of your opinion. And I think we're turning disagreement into hate.
I do too. And, you know, we're down there together. There's 100 legislators. And my friends don't always vote the way I do, but that they represent their own people. They have their own ideas. And so you can do these things and still remain friends. And I always remember what Joe Bodenhammer made a comment about. He said, you know, I can disagree with you, and then tomorrow we can have a cup of coffee.
Yeah.
And We've lost
and Joe's
that.
good about that. He was a former county judge in Baxter County.
And he could do that.
Mm-hmm.
But today, it's like, if you don't come my way or you don't sit my way, it's
it turns into
just a brawl.
Yeah. You know, and I think a lot of our problems started in Ferguson, Missouri. What should have been handled by Missouri State Police, St. Louis County Police, Ferguson Police should have been handled on the local level.
Yes.
And let those people handle it. We need the National Guard, or we need FBI, or we need somebody here to handle this. But the president sends Al Sharpton. Boy, no.
Yes.
There's an answer to the problem.
Yes. Because when he comes, and I can't think of the other one, there is problems because they come with attitudes.
Yeah.
And
so it's time to come together, you know, and I'm now on XL7 television in Mountain Home from 7 to 8 a.m., and it's picked up live stream all across the state and across the country. I've extended an invitation to Jared Henderson, to Governor Hutchinson, to Mrs. Hutchinson, to the Libertarian candidate, Mark West, I believe is the name there. They're all welcome. Everybody needs to have their voice heard. Do I agree with all of them? Probably not. But I'm not going to hate them because of that. And I'm not going to degrade them because of that. I'm going to say, oh, well, he believes this, this. Okay, vote your way.
We get to go and vote, and that should be enough. I mean, that should take care of... It doesn't have to be hate. It doesn't have to be just because you disagree with someone.
We need on the national level, you know, we've got far left, far right, and in the middle. Let's come together. Quit the fighting. Well, Donald Trump wants this, because Donald Trump wants this, I'm not going to vote for it. Well, what if it's good for the country?
Right.
What if it works? Give it a chance.
That's when we go down the tube if we're not careful with that. And
so it is what it is, folks. 2 more minutes. So we're visiting with Nelda Speak, state representative here in North Central Arkansas. Thank you for your 2 hours today.
Well, I appreciate it. I appreciate you calling and let me do it. And I always enjoy being on Paul Harrell's, even though he's not here today.
Well, we may get him over here sometime, get him on my TV show so people can see. And once again, the Paul Harrell Show is coming to 96.5 The Answer Monday, January 8th. The show will air live from 6 a.m. to 8 a.m. Monday through Friday. This will be the 6th or 7th affiliate. I'm not sure about the Mountain Home area now, but I know they're on in Jonesboro, Fort Smith, Rogers, Russellville, Stuttgart. Possibly the Mountain Home area, I'm not sure, but Paul Harrell, of course, is the best conservative voice, part of the Conduit News Radio Group, and it's Conduit Media's group flagship conservative talk radio, the Paul Harrell Show. And congratulations to Paul on getting the morning drive time in Little Rock. It's going to be really, really good. And so let's see, we got about 45 seconds.
Well, thanks, Dale, for letting me come, and I appreciate the opportunity to sit and visit with you. We've discussed a lot of things, and maybe we haven't put Paul in too big of hot water.
He wants to stay in the Bahamas.
But thank you so much.
And once again, it's been a privilege to sit in today. We'll be here tomorrow and Friday, filling in for Paul Harrell. And once again, I think Paul Harrell is the finest voice for conservative talk radio in the state of Arkansas, and quite an honor to be sitting here on the Paul Harrell Show. And this pretty well wraps it up. We've been visiting with State Representative Nelda Speaks. We will be back tomorrow with more on the Paul Harrell Show.